Welcome back to Two Canadians, Kafe Lise, a Vigor podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Anton, and with me is the other host, DJ Spencer.
Hey.
Hey. This is episode 43, Lone Wolf. Before we start, just remember, please like, share, subscribe. We do appreciate it. And comment. We love your comments. And we always
Yeah.
appreciate when we see them. And we try to reply to every single one. So please keep doing it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it is. We enjoy it. I know it's a summer too, so hopefully people have a chance to listen because when summer comes along, everyone gets busy. We get busy. That's why this episode's coming out a few days later than normal, like the last one. The weekends sometimes can be a little tough, especially in the summer. So at least we're trying to keep it every couple of weeks, even if it's a few days late. We're not too far off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be going over Lone Wolf. There won't be much. There's not gonna be anything to show you this time around. It's just gonna be us talking. Really, because there's not much to show. Like we could have taken a whole bunch of clips of us playing Lone Wolf, but it's basically Vigor with just you're gonna run into more people teaming, but it's legitimate teams, not people illegitimately teaming.
I was just going to say it's probably more clips of us dying more than anything. So
there is that too. For sure. There was for me, and we'll talk about this more in the experiences section. Last night was the worst night for me, like because I played a few nights of this. So but yeah, anyways, so we'll just go over a few things. We'll talk about just a little overview of and the history of Lone Wolf. And we'll talk about the XP rewards, which is probably one of the main reasons to do it. And then we'll discuss our experiences playing some Lone Wolf. Did you want to take us through the overview history part? How do you feel about that? Yeah,
sure.
we probably know equal amounts of the overview history.
Yeah.
So.
So Lone Wolf was introduced in season 5. Going back on the update notes, I kind of mentioned it to Doc that I thought the XP was kind of rebalanced at one point, but couldn't really find anything in the change logs or anything like that.
If it was,
but yeah,
it wasn't documented, at least not in the change logs.
Yeah, and I kind of perused some of the Vigor Partner past YouTube videos and whatnot, and didn't quite see it. At one point, in like your general screen where you saw like your encounter maps and your shootout and elimination maps, there was actually an option to, I think it's on the Xbox, it's like the 3 lines button in the middle. If you would hit that, you would actually see the list of all the XP events that you would get a bonus in Lone Wolf. I don't think it's there anymore, but
Right.
Anyways, the thing about Lone Wolf is basically, like Doc said, you are going into an encounter, you're all by yourself. You are up against duos and trios, depending on the map size. There could be other lone wolves, or you could basically be up against all duos or trios, and there's no control over it. Now, in the past couple of seasons or past few seasons, there's kind of been an issue with like matchmaking where you'd queue up for a lone wolf match, and then after a certain amount of time, you were not actually put into like a duo and trio lobby. You were actually put in with other solo players, which it was kind of funny because you were still getting the XP for Lone Wolf bonus in those games.
Well, then there might have been times they must have tweaked it, because there were definitely times when I was trying to do Lone Wolf before today, obviously, or this episode, where I had checked and I didn't get anything extra. So there might have been, maybe when it first came out, you might have gotten it even if you didn't get into Lone Wolf, but they had definitely tweaked it, because I know I didn't play Lone Wolf until at least a couple seasons after it came out, for sure. So they did tweak it at some point.
Yeah, and we're talking about it on I think it was my Thursday night stream. So the last stream I actually did, I was calling it kind of Lone Wolf Trials. Um, yeah, I don't remember who it was. It may have been Mr. Blonde, but we were talking about that. The fact that you were getting like XP uh, in a Lone Wolf solo lobby. But yeah, it got reworked at some point where because like Doc, we were talking about it before the fact when we decided to do this kind of like experiment or episode that we were going to keep track of how many lobbies we actually got, like full solo lobbies and not an actual Lone Wolf game. And we're happy to report we didn't get a single one. We got Lone Wolf games all the time. I kind of regret because I died a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I died a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not. There was one night, one stream. I was just like, you know what? I need to reset, and I actually just ran a solo lobby just because I'm like, I'm just getting wrecked here. I'm like, I need to reset here. So it's like I had one. I had a couple kills, got the airdrop. It was like a confidence builder. Went into the next one, and I did much better in that Lone Wolf game. But that is basically a little brief overview and history of Lone Wolf.
Yep.
And Doc and I basically ran some Lone Wolf games the last week and a half or so. I did it. I did 3 full streams.
I did
Or
as
no,
well.
maybe 4. 4, and then
Well, I
I
did
did a
3.
little bit off stream.
Mm.
Which I'm not going to blame chat, but I did a little better off stream. But
That's maybe people trying to snipe, Q snipe you. Yeah.
I think it's just because I was playing
Oh,
maybe a bit more conservative.
and not as aggressive.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not that I was super aggressive in my Lone Wolves, but
Yeah.
yes, I think
Okay.
that's what it was. A little more patient, I should say.
Sure.
So
Now we'll just go over the XP bonuses. So like, the main thing for going into Lone Wolf is to get more XP. And it's kind of reflected in the types of XP you get the bonuses on, because when you go in, you don't get extra XP across the board. It's just on certain items. And from what we had recorded down, those items are uh, when you get a kill, you get 300 extra XP. So normally kills 300, you get another 300. Same with
yeah,
the headshot, additional 300 for that. If you become threat, you get 300 more XP for being a threat. And if you kill the threat, again, you get 300 more XP.
yeah.
And then that's all for the killing. Those are the ones for killing. The only other thing that I found that you got additional XP for was for the airdrop. And so whether it was a red box airdrop or one that actually came with the plane, for looting it, you got 150 XP, and for retrieving it, so getting out with it, you got 200 extra. So, and maybe that's because the airdrop is one of those things where maybe they consider that more of an end goal, and so in a duo trio lobby, and you're going as a lone wolf, it's extra dangerous, maybe.
Mhm.
But as we talk about our experiences, we'll see how that actually was. So you get extra for that, but you don't. I never found that I got any extra for, say, getting the barred house, or for the time safe, or the lock container, or even other things you would get XP for, like the locked the combination boxes or the
Yeah,
buried cache. I didn't see any extra XP for any of that. So
no,
it's not so
uh,
much, they don't reward looting in Lone Wolf. So
no, absolutely not. Like there's nothing for retrieving, like any resources, consumables,
yeah,
anything. So
just your standard XPs. So
yeah,
so if you're going in, those are the things you're trying to do, because that's the main reason. Maybe, and for people who, and if it's not so much about XP for you, then it's more about the challenge, I guess. For There are going to be
yeah,
people who are doing it just because they're a solo, they want to get kills, and they want to take on teams,
yeah,
right? You're going to get
yeah.
those people too. Yeah.
Yes, the thrill,
But
the
yeah,
rush of the kill.
it's for the rush, it's for the kills, and who knows what else? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we'll just, I guess, talk about our experiences playing it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
as you said, for me, the last 3 streams, for you made 3 or 4, and some offline, we were playing it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was interesting.
So
Because I was still going with my looting mentality. But yeah, what are you
yeah.
saying?
Okay. Before we start, I'm curious. What was your loadout?
My loadouts didn't really change. Like I took
Okay.
my typical loadout. So I always
Okay.
have a certain number of meds with me, and then the whatever gun I'm taking at the time. I switch my guns around a lot.
Mhm.
I didn't take any LMGs during this. I let's see. I played around with assault rifles, so I think I took some different ones. I was playing with the H bar at one point. I think I had a rifle challenge at one point, so I was playing around with the H
Okay.
bar. When I didn't have a specific challenge, I was actually taking the L85 out quite a bit because I really enjoy that gun.
Okay.
And and I figure if I'm going against duels or trios, I wanted to have a good gun that I could rely on. That
Hmm.
because the L85 is also, even though it's not an LMG, it was one of the first ones that had the adjustments for recoil. So I figured,
Yeah.
okay, it's an assault rifle, which is still, at least it's going to be in the same neighborhood as the LMGs and stuff. So, and then at one point, I also ran a pistol because I had a pistol challenge and I needed to get 1 kill with a pistol. And so I took a Raffica for several matches until I finally got that kill.
Okay.
How about you? What was your loadout like?
Uh, so
249s?
similar. No, similar to you. I was kind of changing it up. I did run like quite a few with the M249. I think I brought out like a KK a couple times. Um, any map that was like a sniper map, I'd bring. I've been saying I love the PH. Like in the last few months. I actually went back to the SVD for it just because of the faster firing rate. I was also um, like when I was choosing a primary weapon, often I'd go with like something with a higher firing rate. Like you said, the H bar. I think the lowest firing rate I went with was the A1, which I did decent with.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I did an A1 or a couple A1s, H bars. I did some bugles, M249s. Yeah, RPK 74 too. I think I brought out
Okay.
kind of like a variety. For me though, so my typical like consumable loadout is typically like one armor plate, two ports,
Yeah.
a couple disinfectants, and an antibiotic and a painkiller. Um, and
Yeah,
it's
mine's
it's
similar,
it,
but I quite often take a couple grenades as well. Yeah.
Okay, and that was one thing too. I didn't even think about grenades at the beginning either. So there was a few times where it's like I toss in some grenades, but Doc, it's like someone was like, "Do you know how expensive that is?" I was just like, I don't want to look at it because like alone, like just like healing wise, it was. I think we were approaching 24,000 in materials, and I was just
Mm,
like, oh my god! And one thing, I was actually throwing in some bandages too. Um, and then at one point, I was actually throwing in a second plate. Um,
oh, wow.
yeah, yeah. So it got super expensive because I
Yeah,
think towards the end, I was running the two plates, two ports, um, uh, two or three disinfectants, one or two antibiotics, one painkiller, and like a couple of bandages. So it's like uh yeah, it was super pricey. Um
yeah.
and I died a lot. I felt like a loot llama for some people. But it's
Ah,
like
whatever. For
but yeah,
science.
so that's yeah, exactly. I didn't mind.
Yeah,
So it's like I ran with that for the most part, and then like I said, swapped out the weapons because sometimes it's like I couldn't hit a shot for to save my life. So it's like, okay, you know what? It's not working. Change it up. But yeah, so that's what it was. Like I said, it was super expensive, and not that I'm hard up on materials. Like I have like a fully, like I think gun wise, I'm at like 4,500 weapons in my inventory or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
and like a ton of weapon parts. So it's like I can deconstruct like a ton of stuff. So I'm not worried. Like I was below like a million materials, but it's like I know I'm there. I have it. Uh, I'll go back to like our episode of deconstruction, and it's like, what am I going to deconstruct? But
Yeah.
there's a little plug there. But yeah, so and it was funny because Monday night stream, um, I decided, you know what, I think we have enough. I have an experience with this. I'm not going to be doing Lone Wolf tonight. And so I did low budget runs where it's like I basically went back to my original consumable loadout or even a little less, and I would just take out like common weapons or uncommon or yeah, sorry, common weapons, uh, and just try to recoup some of those materials that were foolishly spent. Well, it's not foolish. It was fun. It's just
Yeah.
frustrating because we died a
Never
lot.
foolish. It's always it's always for
Yeah,
fun. Yeah, regardless. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it was good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and my loadouts are very similar. Like my typical loadout is like two disinfectants, one bandage, one antibiotic, and one painkiller. That's my typical meds. And then yeah, one plate, two portables, and usually a couple grenades. So very similar in loadout. Yeah, sure, it's pricey loadout. And especially depending on the weapon you take, it makes it even worse sometimes. If it's a gold weapon, which I was running there for a while, I definitely handed out some gold weapons last
Oh
night.
yeah.
Um, but man, but yeah, it because I was typically running it as I was still pretty much running it as a loot, like a loot and scoop,
Okay.
kind of.
Hmm.
And like any of my games, like I don't shy away from combat, but I don't go running around looking for it unless I'm desperate to try to get a kill for a challenge. If
Yeah.
I run into somebody, I'll fight them, basically. But I found that, and except for last night, which was my third night, my first two nights, and that was it a Wednesday and a Thursday? I can't remember. It was last week. It was a couple nights last week. They weren't as bad. Like they I wasn't running into full sweat lobbies. Sure there might be a few sweats out there. But for the most part, the duos and trios are running to didn't seem all hell bent on killing everybody. So I had a lot easier time in the ones I ran. Um, yeah, sure, I died a few times, like in out of eight or nine games that I played. I died like on the first night I died like three times. Second night I died a couple times, and I got a couple kills here. Not a lot of kills. I didn't get a lot, but I got a lot of airdrops. Those first couple nights, I was getting airdrops like crazy. I think I got like six the first night and four the second night. So it was just consistent. And if I had, and I think I had one challenge on one of those nights where it was try to get a melee kill.
Oh
So I
my
even
god.
ran with a knife for a bit. That so I got rid of that. I paid to get rid of it, and then I got an airdrop challenge right away. It was like, oh,
Oh
well,
nice.
great. It was like get three airdrops, and I think that was the first night, and I was able to get that no problem. I got the airdrops no problem. But
Nice.
then last night, whew, totally different. Every lobby was sweaty.
Yeah.
Even if I'm minding my own business, I'm getting pinged, I'm getting rushed. It's like, holy cow, what's going on tonight?
Yeah.
I got killed by Freddie Montana. He got me last night. Like
Freddy.
I didn't even realize he was in the lobby. Like I
Oh.
think I'm not sure if it was him or his partner who got threat, but oh man, yeah,
Oh.
they rushed me. And I got a few shots at him, but I was dead.
Oh.
uh,
I actually I went up against Freddy. It was one of my last. I actually might have been my last lone wolf run
but yeah,
on Field Canton. It was Rivers and him, and I got both of them.
oh
I
nice,
don't know. I don't know if he realized it was me, or what weapon I was using
yeah,
because he pushed and I think he lost track of me and I was able to like get him as he was rushing towards me like in the open
yeah.
because I had kind of the high ground and so he was kind of below me. So and then
Mm.
Rivers was I'm trying to think. I think he ended up pushing me too. But anyways,
Oh, okay.
it's
Yeah.
I say this all the time, and this is part of the reason why like we do countdowns, right? It's fun to like play against people, right? Other streamers, people in chat and whatnot. So yeah, it's fun. So
Yeah. Even though last night was like my third night was the one I died the most in. Though I did have a few good matches, and I think there's one on Grantham I had where I started up by the scary cabin,
okay, the
and it
Murder
was
Shack.
against the Murder Shack, and it was against three other teams and another solo because it's an 8-person map. And did I get some? Yeah, someone hit signals, which was just by the beehive, fairly early. And as I was coming back from the murder cabin, because I got the loot around there, um, a team was I don't know if they were looking for me or coming my way. So they were obviously looking for me. So they must have been the ones
Yeah.
that hit it. And I had an L85, and yeah, I just I sort of lucked out. They didn't know where I was as I was running down, and I was just I they're actually trying to cross the water. Like they had passed me, and I took a shot at one of them and missed, and then they came back. But then I was around that feeder, that feeder you can go up into by
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
river in that area,
yeah.
and I was running around that, and they were sort of trying to split up, but they didn't get split up, and I was lucky, I was just able to get both of them out. So that turned out to be a decent match for me. Um,
Nice.
but man, there's so many times I was getting pinched by teams, right? Like I'm I'm trying to get cover, and there's like one coming from one side, one coming from the other, and I can't shoot them both. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it was a rough night.
I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
So your Grantham run that you were
Hmm.
just talking about. So, like you said, it's a small enough lobby, right? There's like maybe like a couple of duos, trios, and maybe another lone wolf. Did in that match, did everyone spawn up north or like near your area?
I don't know. I don't know where
Okay.
everyone spawned. Because well, definitely one team spawned near the bee house because that's where
Yeah.
the bee yard because that's where signals was. Um, and I'm pretty sure at least one other team spawned somewhere near the town because I think I heard someone going for the time safe, and then the
Okay.
other because there was three teams and another solo. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, one guy because I eventually hit signals. One guy was keeping to the hills by the middle exit, and he'd
Okay.
even put down a. I could tell he had put down a bunch of transmitters
Oh.
because because I this is after I killed the duo, so the numbers weren't matching. How
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
signals were around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I did the scan, there was 2 people over on the other side of the town, um, around the loot events, and there was definitely one guy up in the hills with and then I could see that he had put down some he was being I think it was a solo, he was doing a lot of things like putting down, um, glints with,
Okay.
transmitters and all
Okay.
that. So, he was definitely playing a game. So,
So,
it was good.
um, I had one game on Ground Time, kind of similar, where
Yeah.
I was north of logistics and go to logistics, and literally I see people on the other side, right? Kind of like where you must similar to your spawn point, I guess.
Yeah.
So they're coming running down on the other side of the river. So I was like, okay, it's like I'll get in position. Took a couple of shots, got a few tags on them, and then they kept going and like rotated a bit, but they're still on the other side. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to cut them off at the bridge, and it's like next thing I know, there's two people behind me. There's those two guys there, and then another team came up from like the bee farm. So I'm like, 90% of the lobby is literally here in this one spot, and like I had died because I was fighting that initial pair right near the
Yep.
bridge, and I got third partied or fourth partied, whichever one you want to call it. And
Yeah.
I'm going through like the people left in the lobby, and literally no one died except for me. And the only one there was one more lone wolf. He spawned all the way down south all alone. So I was like, oh my god, what are the chances?
Yeah, all by himself, and like you're in the middle of everything.
I
Yeah,
was like, bad luck.
I definitely ran into situations like that where, yeah, it was they were all around, and it was
Yeah.
rough. Not on that map, maybe, but on I'm trying to think. Like, I think I ran into that a little bit in Sagbrook, a few
Mhm.
times in Sagbrook, trying to getting like run into one team and then run away from them and run into another team. Is like, where the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just kind of curious because some, you know how it is sometimes. Like even solo lobbies, sometimes it's like there's like four spawns nearby, and it's like everyone's there, and it's like it could be hectic or whatnot. So, anyways, I was just
yeah,
curious.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anything? I don't know. So this is where we want to. Do you want to try to come up with some tips? Is that what we're
Uh,
thinking here?
well, I was going to talk about that like maybe after the fact.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Um.
so
Any other good significant stories? Let me think here. How about you?
uh, so my first night, I died a lot. I think I
Yeah.
made it out once with an airdrop. Um, I kind of played the same kind of play style where it's like I'm still looting, but I'm still kind of like you know going somewhat going for kills, but I'm not running and gunning. I'm not going down like Main Street or anything like that. Um, but yeah, that first night was really rough.
That was my third night.
And yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's when I basically said, you know what, I need a break. Um, and I went into the solo lobby, but it was funny because my first lone wolf of the night and the first lone wolf to like kick this off, I went on field canton and I actually like um, wiped out a trio, I think it was. So I had 3 kills, and then I got pushed by like a duo type thing, because I guess they heard us fighting, and
Great.
so they came up after us. And then we were by old geezers on the north side of it, and basically I kind of like fell down the rocks a little bit, and then I was trying to reposition myself, and I kept getting caught on some rocks, and they kept coming at me, and I just uh, kind of got stuck, and then just fell, and then as I'm falling, they got me. So it's like it was still a good round because I think the XP was actually half decent, because I had some headshots and 3 kills,
Great.
but I didn't die. I didn't survive, but I did get decent XP there. But aside
Did,
from that, like that first night was rough.
did you get any did you get any threats as
Yes,
playing lone wolf?
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I did. So I got 2 threats. Um, 2 on the second night.
Oh wow.
Um, one which I was a little foolish. It was Anakin. I actually had 5 kills on Anakin, and then I picked up the airdrop and I hit signals, and then I saw there's 2 people left at Lighthouse, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I remembered who I killed, what was left in the lobby, and I'm like, okay, it's not like H bars, it's not LMGs. I'm like, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I think I got this. I'm like, I was feeling confident, and I pushed them, and they kind of went around the backside of the lighthouse, and then I was coming up, um, from like that island on the north side of
Yep.
Lighthouse, and so I was like, okay, I could kind of beat them to the exit. So I was already marked as threat at that point.
Yep.
So I picked
Yeah.
up an airdrop because I'm like, you know what, radiation's already coming in. It They already see me. I know where they are, so it's like it doesn't matter.
Great.
So we basically met up, halfway up the hills type thing. I tagged both of them, but then I got hit a little bit, but then I got headshotted on like the third hit, I think it
Mm,
was. So
yep.
unfortunately, I died. I still had like amazing XP on that one,
Hmm.
because like, not just because of the lone wolf stuff. I ended up hitting uh, at least one loot event, if I'm not mistaken, um, and I just had like a ton of like good XP. I think I found the cash spot. So those
Mm.
guys like enjoyed the spoils for sure on that one. But yeah, it was definitely a good game. And then I had a threat game on Grontheim with the airdrop, which went well. And I'm trying to think which was the other one. And that was on Friday night. I want to say it was on Sogbrook.
Okay.
So, um, but yeah, most nights I'm going to say I probably died more than I survived. And again, it's like if something wasn't working, I'd always try to like switch up the gun, um, because some nights it was like I couldn't hit a shot with like the M249
Yeah.
one night, so it's like change it up. I got to do something. Um, but it is definitely challenging,
Yeah.
and
For
I
sure.
don't mind it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would do it, but I need to be cognizant of how expensive my loadouts are and stuff.
Yeah. Speaking
um,
of that loot, there was one was it I think it was even last night in my bad night. There was one lobby and it was on forest. Someone just went mad and was boosting like crazy. Like it went up to about 650 XP boost,
oh my god.
percent boost. And I forgot to get insurance. And I was so full of chemicals and all good stuff. And I think I was heading down south because I was in the sort of the town, um, the um, the one not the one that has the hotel, but the other side that has the store.
Mhm.
And signals can be there and all that. I was heading down south from there, getting to that path where there's like um, the forest dump, but like further down, closer to the crossing for the river, the bridge.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I saw one guy or I saw a team, and I'm not sure if they saw me or if I saw them first. But either way, I got pinched by them, and I was behind a tree, and one was trying to get me from the top, the other one was sneaking around to the side, and that was so heartbreaking because I got killed on that one, and it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
forgot to get insurance.
Yeah.
It was so much loot I lost.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
so sad.
yeah. It's like I had some decent to even some like when I did survive. Um,
Mhm.
like I want to say like the XP was like pretty good, but like
Yep.
that's saying like I'm getting at minimum like 2 to 3 kills or even threat. Like I think the highest XP game I had was 18,000
Right.
XP.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I found when I was dying, it's like if I got 2,000 XP out of a game like that, it kind of made it rough, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like pointless in that respect,
Yeah.
but
Like on last night when I was dying a lot, yeah, I wasn't getting a lot of XP. Like that even that loot night or that loot round, even though I died, I still did decent for XP on that one because I found a lot of loot, so I got all that looting XP. I just didn't get the
yeah,
retrieving XP. But I probably had a few good games like that where especially on something like Forest, where it's if you get the right loot, and you know where to go, then you can get really good XP out of it.
yeah.
Um, and then with all the airdrops I was retrieving the first couple of nights, it was helping. I was definitely getting decent XP. But yeah, last night, yeah, other than maybe the game where I got a couple kills and some good loot out of it, most of my and even that one, my loot value wasn't high. Um, so I had decent XP, but my loot wasn't great. Yeah,
So
so
when you're getting like a lot of airdrops,
yeah,
I'm just kind of curious. Were like people literally just leaving the map? Like they're like, okay, no one's close to me for kills, so I'm just gonna go and leave because
pretty. I think
why?
so.
You think that's what it is? Okay,
I think
because
so because there were a few maps where I was checking things out. I would ping like, okay, I'm getting near the airdrop. I'll ping and see if anyone's nearby, and someone was like way across the map. It's like, okay, well,
yeah,
maybe they're done. They're done what they're trying to do. And there was even one Victorson one where I wasn't sure, same thing. I ran over and hit. It was getting closer to the end. I ran over and hit signals. I think it was at Waterfall, and yeah, it was like nobody left on the map. It's like, where'd everyone go? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll go get the drop and leave. So there was quite a bit of that. People there, like, there were some fights, but
Yeah.
yeah, for the most, and there's even once where there was a guy who was a threat. I figure, okay, and I think it might have been the same one. What everyone wasn't gone the one time I hit the signals. There was a threat guy, and I checked, and he was the only person left, but he was heading his way out too. Like he was taken
Mm.
off, and he didn't come for me, or didn't try to find me. And it's like, okay, well, I'll grab the thing and go. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
So
because
it's a little
it's
strange
like
those nights.
I remember like there was a couple like one was like Phil Canton where it's like I actually think I had like 3 kills that game, and I was like, okay, the airdrop's here, and it's like I still had a port, so it's like I want to make sure no one's like hiding or like has the high ground up on a ridge or something, and it's like I go to ping, and the guy's by church, and I was like, we're at Old Geezers. There's no way he's getting here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not that desperate. At this point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be happy to survive, get there, get this airdrop. I'll be happy with my 3 kills. Let's get out of here. And again, like I had, I think one game on battery similar to like you said, it's like used a port at one point where it's like airdrop didn't even show up and no one's there. Like and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like I think timed wasn't even hit yet. Um, I don't remember if the other loot event was, but oh no, I had killed someone who had gotten the other
Mm,
one. Um,
right.
but I was like, it's odd, right? But I think what it might be is either that, like the the kills aren't close enough, or they're like, okay, my teammate died, and we'll just run it back, right? So I'll exit
Yeah.
and we'll just get into the next one.
And I think it was also
So
a little easier too when there was at least one trio in the mix. I don't know if that made much difference, but maybe like when the trios, if one of their guys dies, they decide, okay, well, let's head out. Like you said, one of our teammates is down, and we want everyone to play, so we'll head out. That gave more airdrops, a better chance to get an airdrop.
mm,
Because then grab one and go, and there's still a couple of airdrops left over.
yep.
Maybe that could be part of it. I don't know. It was interesting though. But then last night, I don't know. I never got the chance to find out. How we're going for the airdrops because I was dying most of the time. I think out of my
Yeah.
10 games, I died 8 of them, or
Okay.
I survived 2 or 3 games last night, so it wasn't
Yeah.
a huge number.
That's kind of like
Yeah,
how my rough nights were too. So
yeah,
uh
yeah.
so how about so we kind of talked about like the meta in past episodes, right? With the
Yeah.
machine guns. How are you finding the lobbies? Did you find a
Um,
lot of people had like machine guns? Um, and compared to like solos,
mhm.
what
Well,
what do you
last
what
night
did you
for
find?
sure there were a lot of machine guns.
Okay.
Like because last night was the sweaty night, and yeah, there were KKs, there were M249s, RPK 74s. Those were like the 3 big ones, and the
Yeah.
UK VZ 59s. Actually,
Yeah.
I saw quite a
Hmm.
few of those too. So those were the big ones that I saw out there a lot,
Yeah.
especially last night. Other things I saw last night quite often were SG1s. SG1s seem to be making a comeback.
Mm.
They were getting quite popular. But then you would see a little bit of everything else too. Like you get the teams that had AKMs and like the more common stuff.
Yeah.
Um, a few people with nothing. Like I saw at least even in teams, I'd have like one guy that had nothing, or a few
Interesting.
solos that had nothing. So if they're doing a zero to hero, or if they're just
Yeah.
trying to loot and scoot, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, last night was big on the meta. It was like a lot of people running the big
Yeah.
guns. The previous nights, weren't so bad. Yeah, sure, there might be one or two people with an LMG, like a
Mhm.
KK or maybe an M249, but for the most part, those other nights, it was a lot of, I even saw some Gewehr threes. I saw some just your standard commons, even some
Yeah.
L85s, but it wasn't every single person in a lobby. It was like, okay, one or two people in the lobby were decked out. Everyone else is pretty standard, maybe. Yeah. How about
I want to
yours?
say like compared to solos, I want to say like machine guns were like the majority of the
Mm,
weapons. Uh,
yeah.
it like it was hard to find a duo or a trio where at least one of them were not using a machine gun, right? Like it seemed like at least one of them, and it's like I knew right away when it was a full out sweaty lobby. Like you said, it's
Mm.
like all machine guns, meta guns. I didn't notice any SG1s, but I'm kind of curious if like was it the only weapon they brought in, or were they using it like as a sniper?
No,
Uh,
no.
I don't. Oh,
I think for
interesting.
the most part, it was the only weapon they were bringing in
Yeah.
when I saw them. I
Okay.
don't think I
It
did see
is.
some combos, sure,
Yeah.
but I don't think SG1s were ever comboed with anything. It's quite often
Okay.
M21s or some kind of sniper with
Okay.
something else. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's like, and I think that's one thing that made these lone wolf runs more difficult because in the past I've done some lone wolf runs and I want to say I was more successful, but the current meta I find is a lot harder to at least for myself to do lone wolves because when you have so much like spam bullets or like spam shooting, it is hard to you know move around,
Hmm.
get position and whatnot. So I think it made it a little harder. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the meta is I want to say compared to like solos, it's like it is like machine gun heaven or whatnot. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what it was those first 2 nights where I wasn't really running into as much sweat. Maybe it was, I don't know, maybe did something come out last week that I don't know about, and maybe all the sweats were playing that? Like, was there, like, a new COD, or was there
No,
something? I
I don't
wonder,
know.
eh? Maybe I just caught the sweats on a night off, and so I had a couple of
Maybe,
good nights. And it's like,
maybe.
"Okay, it's Monday, back to Vigor."
But that's another thing too. What about maps? Map selection.
Hmm.
Uh, did
I
you was there any
Yeah.
strategies there, or did you notice like sweatier lobbies were on specific maps?
Hmm. Like like, cause like I said, the other nights I did play around a bit more with my maps. Like I did do like a Falcanton one night, a few times I did Falcanton, but for the
That
most part, I typically did my standard maps, which were like Victorison, Forest, maybe Sagbrook, and Broadland Bridges. Those are like the
okay,
four main maps I was hitting.
okay,
Um, and like last night I was sticking pretty much to my regular maps, and it didn't seem to matter. I think when it finally got to Brodelin, and and even in my first game in Brodelin, that's the one I died to Freddie Montana. Um, that one was a bit more sweaty. Like even then, the maps were a bit sweatier. But I think my last couple of games in Brodelin were a little bit better. Like I was able to avoid people mostly. Um, I did maybe get like one kill and but was able to get out with the airdrop a couple times. And that was like the
okay,
one challenge last night that took me the longest to do was getting airdrops because I was dying so
yeah,
much. I never
yeah,
got them. And I
yeah.
wasn't finding the red boxes either. So that was like the other thing. It's like
Okay,
so I had to actually wait for the plane
yeah,
and see, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? I got it.
yeah,
Run. Oh, this one's stealth. Yes.
yeah. Though it
Uh,
is.
bonus, it's
uh,
stealthed.
yeah. So I was trying to like get at least one game in for each map. But
Mm,
it's kind of like what we were talking about. I don't remember which episode it was, but you know how like we had discussed like sweatier maps are like the ones typically with like a high. player count lobby.
Hmm.
um and so like for me that's how it kind of was, where like my tamer lobbies were like the smaller maps. So like battery was a little bit of a mixed bags, because I had some super sweaty um lobbies in battery, but I also had some
Yeah.
that were pretty tame.
Okay.
Grontheim was pretty tame for the most part. um Sogbrook as well. But Phil Canton, Anakin, um, Fisk. Actually, Fisk I missed.
Oh yeah, I never
But
never tried Fisk either.
Fisk, I already know it's like sweat heaven there. So it's
Yeah.
like, uh, uh, yeah, Phil Canton. Divert typically is, but that's because it's a bigger lobby, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
Deverg and Victorson were definitely the sweatier of the ones I was
yeah,
playing. Brodelin wasn't as bad. Brodelin's such a big map that if you start in a certain section and
yeah,
there's nothing around you, like if there's no POIs that people want to get to, you have a better chance. If
yeah.
everything's like central and you're at the bottom, you have a better chance. Even though I did run into a duo and get killed on one
Mhm.
of them, but it's still, for the most part, I usually have a better time with like Brodelin than I do
Yeah,
with like Deberg or Victorson on these lone wolf things. Yeah,
yeah, and I think that's one reason why like uh sweats don't stick around or play as much Broadalin for that reason.
yeah,
It's spaced out, right? So
it's such a big
they
map.
it's not like Phil Canton is like it's a big map, but you know what? You could still go and push for your kills, get your
Yeah,
threats and whatnot. Um,
even yeah, Victorson's a good sized map,
Vic
but
Storson,
again,
yeah,
not hard to get to things because even though it's big, it's fairly evenly spaced up and wide. Same with
yeah,
well, Deverg's a bit longer, true,
yeah,
but again, most of the stuff that one when it tends to be sweaty, it's all central mostly anyways. So,
yeah, exactly.
but yeah, Broadland, it's wide and it's long and it's just a yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
was just kind of curious about like some of the observations uh,
mhm,
that, that you kind of saw, because
yep.
yeah, I kind of saw the same exact thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have any tips
It's tough
for?
because
Yeah,
I
it
was
is.
definitely playing it as a loot. Like I was definitely trying to do the whole loot thing. And
Yeah.
like for the first couple of nights, it worked pretty well because I didn't have super sweaty people trying to hunt me down. Um, and and for those kind of things, my main goal was okay. I need to try to get some lone wolf experience, and the best way to do it without trying to get a whole bunch of kills is get the drop. So I was definitely trying to find the drop, whether it be a red crate or the actual drop. And so I was, really successful those first couple of nights. But then last night, it just seemed like I was, getting pinged like crazy. Like the or scanned, and then people running for you, and it was just wow. I just
Yeah.
it's tough. So for tips, it's definitely doable as a looter, as a mainly person trying for loot, but maybe don't do the thing I normally do and stick around a long time
Hmm.
trying to get as much loot as you can. Like if you're trying to do lone wolf, and I think the reason to do it lone wolf, even if you're not going for the extra XP, is because typically if you see teams in lone wolf, they're trying to get the kills, so they're going to be hunting each other down. And so if you're a solo, um, you're just looking for some loot, you know, loot up as much as you can and maybe get out as quickly as you can.
That's
It's
it.
almost like a
Yeah.
typical for a regular solo one, but my thinking being the duos aren't looting
Yeah.
typically. They're running for each other, they're running
Yeah.
for scanning.
I would say go for the floor loot. Ignore the
Yeah.
ignore the actual like loot events, because
Oh, yeah.
I will guarantee you that, like you said, they are not going into houses to like loot stuff, or
Yeah.
like good like floor loot along like rivers or lakes or whatnot.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, they're probably not hitting those spots. Out, but
Yeah, like a
yeah,
better chance of getting like if you're on Diverg, getting like the forest dump and the one pond dump, which is across the river on that same lower level. Better chances of getting them and them not being gone because the duos and trios are trying to fight each other. trying to get the kills. So yeah, definitely go for the floor route. Yeah, the times I was going for the big ones, it's like anything, it's always situational. Like if I'm
Yeah.
close to it, I'll go for it. Or if I happen to use signals and I see, like there was one, but it ended up being with me dying, like usual. In Sagbrook, one game last night where I started in the sawmill. Um, I got some loot, and I could hear combat going on in various locations away. I hit the signals, and I could see there was some people up by uh the cabin in the woods, but like north of that, and I could see that there was a duo and maybe a solo over by the container, the lock container, but no one was by the switched safe, the time safe. So I decided, okay, I'll try it. I went for it. I unlocked it. I got it, but then I could hear two people running to me just as soon as I looted it. So I figured like maybe it was the duo from the container were coming to get me, because that's the thing about Sagbrook. Even though people are far away from you, it's not that big a map, so it's not that far.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it just happened that they got me in the building. I was fending them off a bit, but then I tried to go out and around, and one of the guys got me. So yeah, it was rough. So
Yeah.
yeah, those events, they're really situational. If you think you can do it quickly, okay, give it a shot. But otherwise, yeah, stick away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and one thing about the loot too. I don't know about you, and I'd be kind of curious to see Vigor maybe release some kind of data set about this. But I found uh, you'd actually get more boosts out of duos or trios, because usually if one teammate would boost something like either the crate
Yeah.
or the loot, you get another teammate doing it, so you might actually get a few boosts out of it.
Yeah.
So if you're actually interested in looting, that is one big benefit. um, Again, like it'd be interesting to actually see the actual data set, if that is, but I kind of noticed that as an observation. Maybe it's just fluke, but um,
I I definitely think I
it would
saw
be kind
more
of cool.
boosting than I do in solos. Yeah. Um, and maybe it's that whole, if there's two of us, there's a bit more confidence that we'll be able to get away with some loot, as well. So they'll boost
Hmm.
just, so one of them can maybe get some more loot out of it if they can.
Yeah,
That could be a thing, because there were definitely, like, other than that 650% one, there were definitely times where there was like 2 to 3 boosts,
yeah,
more often than I see in solos.
yeah.
So
Because it's like knowing that like let's say there's partners, right, where it's like,
mhm.
okay, if I boost it twice, you boost it twice, boom, we're playing for a special issue crate, right?
Oh, and that
Or
wasn't even crates. I was thinking of just regular
or
loot,
yeah,
but
and
yeah.
same thing with loot, right? It's like, hey, if you boost it twice and I boost it twice, we're playing for a ton of loot here. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of thinking, because when you go into like solos, and I've kind of noticed this on a few streamers. There's a few of them. They'll boost once and then they wait. They'll wait to see if anyone will boost like another time.
Right.
And if no one boosts again, then they may like boost like more times, or they're just trying to bait other people. Well, I don't know if it's bait, but they want to see if like they'll encourage someone else into like boosting something.
Into boosting.
But
Yeah.
when it comes to like duos or trios, when your teammate's doing it, odds are you're going to be doing it too, because it's like a coordinated. um I don't want to say coordinated attack, but strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I would say for duos, trios, doing lone wolves or as a lone wolf going up against them, you if you are trying to go for kills, you definitely have to watch out for positioning. I would say,
Yeah. It's
I
really easy
put
to get caught in a bad position. Yeah.
exactly. I put myself in a few bad spots, and I ended up putting myself in a position where I got pinched, and it literally it was my own darn fault, because uh, I wasn't paying attention to where another team would be coming from. Um, so positioning again, I kind of would like to. My strategy typically was like based on my spawn points. I would almost work on the outer edges of the map, especially if I was somewhere like central. Uh, but knowing that, I would kind of swing around, or if I knew there was, like, for example, Field Canton, when you're kind of in the northeast, where it's the snowy hills by the Goat Shepherd's hut,
Yep. Yep.
I would actually swing up and then work my way downwards,
Mm,
just because uh, I know there's other spawn points, and I didn't want to try to get pinched. So
yep.
that's one
That's
thing
fair.
I would kind of suggest is, be mindful of your positioning. Another thing too, um, you definitely want to try to like take out a member of the team quickly and not have a fight drag on, because another number of times I'd be fighting two people at once, and
Yeah.
because one of them's not dying quick enough, I'm getting pushed by two different people. So you want to try to make sure that someone's dying quickly, either like snipe, or just make sure they die one way or another. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
anything else that.
Yeah, it can be tough because like there was that one time on Diverg where I was getting pushed by the two. One was up in the hill and I could see him and I was taking shots at him, but I could hear the other one coming, but I didn't know where he was. And
Yeah,
so the one that was harder to kill was far away. And I got maybe a couple hits on him, but the other guy was getting closer, and so I had to switch my focus to the one that would hopefully be easier. But then the other guy was having, shots at me, and it didn't work.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and,
I
and
couldn't
that's
get him.
that's exactly what I had a few times. Like there
Yeah.
was one time on Field Canton, it, I literally killed a trio, but this was just west of Goat Shepherds, and or close to the geologist camp, and they were coming from the signpost billboard in the middle there, where all the consumables are, kind of in the middle of the map on top of the. So they're right there. They were kind of pushing me, but they were staggered, so I was able to kill them one by one. But then, because that slow battle between them,
Hmm.
someone came up behind them. And then what happened was,
Hmm.
that team, there was one person with, I think it was an SVD. They stayed by there. They were sniping at me while the other one literally just rushed me. Um, and because I was trying to get my sniper shots on the SVD person, I was missing them. The other guy got too close. I chucked a grenade to try to like anticipate where he was actually going to like be, and I
Yeah.
missed. And I went around the rock, and then he got me. But it is just, again, something you got to be mindful of. You got
Yeah.
to take out an you want to like make sure those battles are pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. My good one on Grantham was like that. I was able to concentrate on one and get him. And then as the other one was swinging around to try to get me, I was able to reload and unload on him. And that was with the L85. So the L85 worked out good for me on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's another good thing you mentioned, is you want a weapon with high firing rate, because you you definitely, close encounters, or you want to like throw out a ton of bullets and get those kills quickly.
Yep.
Like I said, don't be afraid to use meta. It's hard to complain, about everyone taking in machine guns if you're not taking out a machine gun, and odds are you do have some, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
if you're going for lone wolf and you're going for the kills, you got to use the meta because everyone else is going to
mhm,
be using the meta. So
yeah,
unless you're a masochist, and you're trying to, you're trying to kill everybody with, a grease gun. If that's your thing, go for it. But
yeah,
otherwise, if you're
yeah,
actually looking to try to play on a bit more of a level playing field, don't be afraid to take,
yeah,
the meta because
and
there's a reason.
yeah, exactly. And you have a number of tools in your uh, tool belt, I guess we could say, transmitters, jammers. I actually used a jammer a couple times that I found in a couple encounters, where it's like I was like, okay, I know signals is close, but I know I'm not going to get there first. So I would actually drop it down, and then I would, not that I would wait, but I basically would time it, and I knew someone hit signals, so they knew I wasn't there. So it's like, okay,
Yep.
perfect. And then I kept going, and I tried to flank them because they're pushing another wave because they're not expecting me. So yeah, definitely use the tools
Yeah.
that you are given. So
And especially in these situations, I didn't do it a lot, but I did do it a bit. Transmitters can, like you were saying, transmitters can be good if you get pinged or or someone uses the signals. That's when I choose to usually throw down a transmitter, because
okay,
they'll see me in that location. I'll throw the transmitter down, and if they come hunting, if they have more portables, maybe they'll get the transmitter and not me, depending which direction they're coming from. Or they'll go there, then maybe they'll hear the transmitter and, you know, not realize I was there or near there. So
yeah.
just try to throw them off, kind of thing. A little bit of strategy, but
If you want to be sneaky, drop in some contact bombs there,
oh,
because
I
sometimes
did definitely
transmitters
tried that.
will
Yeah,
mask the sound of the contact bombs, and you might get, you'll get some damage, maybe, or maybe even a kill.
yeah.
So
Contact bombs
um,
maybe a little more effective around time safe, because those are really loud.
yeah,
So like those switches, so throw them
yeah,
around there if
yeah,
you feel like it, because
yeah.
those mask pretty good.
And even someone pointed out that they use, I say alarm traps are like not useful. They're like, no,
Mm.
use the alarm traps before they get close enough to the contact bombs, because then it's so loud and it lasts just long enough
Yeah.
that they may run into it. But
They may
again,
run, yeah, may distract them and they won't hear them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's not bad.
Um,
Never thought of that. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, "Ooh," I'm like, "That's a good point." But I'm like, again, if I pick up an alarm trap, I'm deleting it. Like I think I
Yeah,
mentioned that, like,
most
in
often
the
I deleted it
consumables.
too.
It's like
Yeah.
it's one of the first things. Um, I don't. I think that's it for tips. But
Yeah.
do you have any ideas for maybe tweaking lone wolves? I
Yeah,
know
I was
we
trying to
didn't
think
have this
too. What could they do
because
to is there any suggestions? But I don't know if I have suggestions. Do you?
because the thing is, you can't really give XP for like looting resources and stuff, because
No.
you're already
People just
getting,
run in, loot and run. Yeah. It'd be
yeah.
too, yeah.
And that's the whole thing about like duos and trios. It is like a different game style altogether. The game mode is super aggressive compared to like solos.
Mhm.
But maybe give XP for like the loot events,
Yeah, that I could
right?
see. Well, and the only loot events you really get XP for is opening, like the time safe, opening the lock
Bard,
container,
yeah,
and Bard. But Bard,
yeah,
you also get XP for looting Bard. So you don't
yeah,
necessarily have to get the XP for looting Bard, maybe, but you
hmm,
could say give some extra XP for opening them.
yeah,
Because, well, I guess with the containers, the only one that, unless you cause it to make noise, like by shooting the locks, that's the only one that you could potentially loot and scoot without anyone knowing it, if you're
yeah,
close enough to it and you can unlock them quick enough. But the other two, there's a audible noise with them. So like or there's a
yeah,
signal, like
yeah,
Bard is like the safe is being opened.
yep,
And with the other one, it's someone hits a switch, you know it. You can hear it.
yep,
So those two for sure. I think getting the XP for opening them should give you maybe a little extra for the lone wolf, because that's a target. You're a target at that point. People know, oh, there's someone there. Let's go get them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, like, you know, uh, com station, too easy
Yeah.
to
Again, too
do
easy.
that. Signal
Disruptive power,
detector,
same. Yeah.
yeah, disruptive tower. Like, there's no point in doing the travel, like distance
No.
traveled. Um, threat is a good one. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if it's worth adding any more XP
Mm,
to like the ones that are existing.
yeah.
But like combination lock boxes, accessing and unlocking them, there's no point. Buried cache, the airdrop, I wouldn't mind actually upping that one a little bit. Just because, like you mentioned, a lot of people, you know, they might just leave. Well, no, because if they're leaving, you're not necessarily, you're the lone wolf,
Yeah.
so you're not the one leaving early. But maybe it's more incentive for people to stick around, even if you're doing a lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're not. There's
It's more
no
the
real
teams
big
leaving
incentives.
early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no incentives really for like a looter right now in the current like
Or
XP.
yeah, and there's no incentives for the teams necessarily to stay to the end for the airdrop. Well, other than there's a little bit of XP boost, but yeah, like well, XP boost for the lone wolves, whereas like the standard looters and all that, they just get what the regular XP from an airdrop as opposed to the bonus, right? Um, yeah.
Oh, one thing we forgot, Doc, and I didn't check, and I think I actually did do it. Um, Phone duels. I don't know. I don't think there is
Oh,
a. I'm not sure,
a
but I
lone
don't
wolf
think there's a
bonus.
bonus. Yeah. I'd be kind of curious.
I never
I
thought of that.
maybe if I check for the VODs.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you would get the kill, but I wonder if there is a bonus for
like an extra bonus for phone duo killed.
duel as lone wolf.
Duo.
But
Yeah,
the issue
yeah.
there is, right, if you don't actually get the kill, right? Because if you could still win a phone duel if you don't get the kill, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, because anyone can
so
kill your duo, and you get
and
the XP. So
yeah,
yeah.
right. Even solos, like if anyone, literally anyone in the map
Hmm.
kills your phone duel.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the only one I didn't even take any phone duels. So
I think I accidentally did one. There was like something looting. There was like some loot there, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna go. Oh no, I grabbed the phone.
yeah, yeah, that
Oh,
happens
and
all
that
the time, especially in those sheds.
yeah. Oh yeah. And that is one more thing too. If and I got caught a few times. If you are going for kills or somewhat trying to go for kills, uh, don't loot or be very mindful when you do loot. Uh, I've got killed a few times. I'd go loot like my kill, or I'd go try to loot whatever, and I ruin some good rounds or potential good rounds
uh,
that way too. Um, because I still want the loot. It's like I want it
yeah,
all.
I was thinking more about don't make if you're going for the kills, don't make yourself too heavy right away.
Yeah,
Yeah, because then your stamina is not going to last as long. You're going to run a little slower. Yeah. So if you're going for the kills, loot after. Yeah, loot after you've gotten what you're looking for, I guess.
yeah,
Um, yeah, just to give you that little extra of advantage, speed
yeah,
and stamina. Yeah.
yeah. Because movement is definitely key. Positioning, like I
Hmm.
said, rotation. Don't stick around one spot too long. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much our lone wolf
Yeah.
experiment and trials. And let
Yeah.
us know
It was
in your
interesting. It was
comments.
fun.
Yeah, let us know in the comments how do you guys run lone wolves? What do you think in the current season, in the current meta? Do you run more or less? Do you even try it?
Other
I don't know.
changes you would make now that they
Yeah,
fixed it, that it's pretty much guaranteed you're getting in with a team with teams, which is kind of cool. Um,
yeah,
what other are there any other changes you would like to see to lone wolf specifically? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I think I'm thinking about the matchmaking. The most lone wolves I had, I think, is 3 out of all my lobbies. I don't think I had more than 3,
Oh,
including
I mean, like,
including
other lone
myself.
wolves. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was about the same for me. I think, like, in total, like, including myself, there were times where there was 4 lone wolves, like, I was one of the 4, and then maybe a duo and a trio and what depending on the mix. Um, but there was quite often, like, especially in the 8-man lobbies, where it would be 3 duos and just, 2 of us lone wolves. In the smaller lobbies, that's quite often what I saw.
okay,
Maybe a trio, a duo, and then 3 lone wolves. A few times. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, but that is Lone
Yep,
Wolves. Thanks for watching and listening.
yep.
Again, we'll see in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll see what the weekend's like, if we can get back to our regular thing. But then it might be another one where we're recording on a Tuesday, releasing on a Thursday. We'll see how the summer goes, for how that continues on. But again, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us the comments as we were mentioning. I'm Dr. Anton.
And I'm DJ Spencer.
Stay safe in the Outlands and have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Lost your way again. You don't see your reflection. Just look around and find it. There's something good. All you need will come to you. I'll never refuse you. Take whatever you want, so just get home. I know you'll find your way. No need to go the same. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. I know you'll find your way. You must be calm anyway. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. Flame up your dream. It's time to leave the place where you are forced to fade away. You barely breathe, heart is breaking in the chest. I'll make you feel that it's not real. Your thoughts because of which you barely live. I'll never refuse you. Take whatever you want, so just get a hold. I know you'll find your way. No need to go the same. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. I know you'll find your way. You must be calm anyway. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. Flame up your I know you'll find your way. No need to go the same. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. I know you'll find your way. You must be calm anyway. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. Flame up